Now, the European Union is not planning to fine Spain and Portugal for breaching their budgets. Earlier this year, the EU said Madrid and Lisbon had run budget deficits which broke EU budget rules. Under the rules, the Commission could fine each country up to 0.2% of their respective GDPs. Well, for more on this, let's cross to Brussels, where Elena Casas joins us now live. Elena, can you just tell us more about this decision and what the implications are? Perhaps other countries will be watching this quite closely.
Well, as you say, Spain and Portugal have got away with a slap on the wrist when the Commission could have slapped them with a massive fine, as much as 2.2 billion euros in Spain's case and in excess of 300 million for Portugal. That would have been a politically difficult thing for the Commission to do, though, at a time when it wants to show solidarity with countries like Spain and Portugal that are having trouble meeting the EU targets of not more than 3% GDP deficit. Spain's is at over 5% and Portugal's at 4.4%. So now they say that Portugal has until the end of 2016 to bring that back in line, and Spain until the end of 2018. So other countries running a very large deficit, most particularly Italy, are likely to take some reassurance from this, from the notion that the Commission is not likely to resort to all of the financial penalties that it could have at hand. There are, though, mitigating circumstances, particularly for Spain and Portugal. Both countries have undertaken quite significant structural reforms, which the Commission says are on the right road, even if they're yet to bear fruit. And of course, both also are in rather difficult political situations at the moment. Portugal has a relatively new coalition government, which the Commission says can't be held responsible for the previous government clocking up a massive deficit. And Spain, of course, still doesn't have a government at all, despite having 2 general elections in the last year.
Elena, another story coming out of Brussels, where you are today, is regarding Poland. And the EU's given Poland 3 months to apply measures to protect the rule of law there. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this dates back to February, when the recently elected government of Poland, they were elected in October, the right-wing Law and Justice Party, essentially overrode that country's constitutional court that had been appointed by the government before. They appointed their own justices with what the European Commission thinks was no regard whatsoever for the rule of law. Now, this judgment from the European Commission does only regard that fairly fine legal point, but it's part of a whole swathe of measures carried out by the current Polish government that are worrying the European Commission, including them bringing more of the media under public control and replacing the people at the heads of publicly owned companies with people more loyal to the current government. Certainly the European Commission feels that that's part of a move away from democracy and transparency across the board in the Polish public sector, and they very much want Poland to rein it in. So now they've given that government 3 months to show that it is respecting the rule of law as decreed by the Constitutional Tribunal. That is to say, the one appointed by the previous government, rather than trying to appoint justices of its own.
OK, Elena, thank you very much.